With me now are Gene Upshaw, Executive Director of the National Football League Players Association, Dr. Roy Bergman, a doctor for the U.S. Olympic team, and Larry O'Brien, Commissioner of the National Basketball Association. Larry O'Brien, the NBA has a new rule, as we said before, no second chances. If a basketball player is caught with drugs, taking drugs, he's finished. Isn't that a little harsh, really?
That isn't quite accurate. So let me explain briefly, if I can. This is a program that's been entered into between the League and the Players Association, advocated by the Players Association. I give them full credit for having this innovative point of view and acceptance of the basic problem in American society today, which of course is a problem that we all have to share. We, in the case of a voluntary disclosure by a player, that player is sent to rehabilitation at the expense of the team with no loss of salary. If it is not voluntary and that player is found guilty of illegal use of drugs or disposition of drugs, he is removed from the league. After a 2-year period, there can be a review of his case, and that review is conducted jointly again by the Players Association and the league, and only with the agreement of both the league and the association can the player return.
Gene Upshaw, the penalties that athletes on drugs are getting now, too harsh or fair, or what do you think about it?
Well, I feel that first you have to treat what we're dealing with in sports now. It is a disease, and that's the main issue that we have to deal with. The penalties are undertaken in a way in which a player seeks rehabilitation, and if something else needs to happen, it does happen. We all are addressing the problem that we now face, but as athletes and as people in position-making positions, we just don't expect anything less than anyone else.
So are they penalties too harsh? First offenders going to jail and things like that?
Well, as I said earlier, I just believe that the players in all sports should be treated like any other citizen in this country, and he shouldn't get any less than anyone else.
Or any more. Okay, Dr. Bergman, in the Olympics, we've had many of our athletes leaving the Pan Am Games. One can assume that many of them were on drugs. The Los Angeles Olympics are coming up this summer. Will our athletes be able to compete, or are they going to have to, will we be able to detect that they're still on drugs, maybe?
Well, we've started a task force on the Olympic Committee on drug control education, and what we're going to require of the Olympic athletes is that they pass a negative drug test before they're allowed to make the Olympic team. Now, our athletes are concerned about this because some of them say, well, if we go in clean, will we be able to compete with the East Germans or the Russians or what have you, providing they come in on drugs? Well, we will have a very stringent testing program there, and anyone that wins a medal or does well in people at random will be tested. And if they are found positive, they will forfeit that medal. So our athletes should be able to compete on an equal basis.
All sports now seem to be very anxious to clean this up, but a lot of the players don't want to submit to the testing.
No, I don't think that's quite
What about urinalysis? Aren't the players against voluntary or even imposed urinalysis tests?
I would think urinalysis really, if a player has to submit to that, the burden of proof is on the player. It's really admitting that everyone is guilty. We don't believe that in organized sports. We think that education is the key. You have to submit to get education and deal with the drug on that level. And confidentiality is very, very important. And it has to be something in which the athlete is willing to come forth and admit.
But why? How do you clean it up? How do you clean your sport up if you don't impose some kind of testing so that everybody
Well,
is treated
Gene
the
has
same?
pointed out the difficulty, and we found it extremely difficult in reaching this agreement. And there would be no agreement in the NBA except for the advocacy of the Players Association. We do have, as part of this agreement, mandatory testing under certain circumstances. A third party with evidence submitted will weigh the evidence, and that third party can decide that a player will be tested a specific number of times over a specific period of time. That is part of our agreement. But what is the most innovative aspect, I think, of the NBA's program is the fact that all of this program, in its basic elements, is the result of advocacy by the Players Association, not management.
How do you determine who'll be tested? Can somebody snitch on somebody else and then you go?
Evidence on a confidential basis will be submitted by the Players Association, the league, or both, to this third party who is an expert in this field and is therefore subject to total confidentiality. And we will not make the decision. The Players Association will not make the decision. The third party will make the decision on the testing, and that's the agreement we reached.
You know, we feel from the Olympic Committee, and I think this carries over in professional sports also, that it's a privilege to be on the Olympic team. And if you want to do that, that's fine. And one of the conditions to make this Olympic team will be to subject yourself to mandatory drug testing. Failure to do that will result in you not making the team. Now, they're free to just say, I don't want to be tested, but they won't make the team. But I think the only way you can approach the cleanup program, regardless, it is a disease, drug addiction is a disease, but it doesn't start as a disease. It starts from peer pressure, from the athlete making a conscious decision to try these drugs. And if you're going to really clean up a sport or a team, what you have to do is test everyone on a non-punitive basis, perhaps, now, and have a grandfather clause for a professional sports team saying after 1985, for instance, a condition for employment in the NFL will be being drug-free. They are role models because we see the drug use and the kids that are on this talking about, well, if this player does it, what's so bad about it? I can do it then. Look what he's done.
We're not attempting to be crusaders or create within ourselves a law enforcement entity at all. We're trying to be responsible to the people who, in turn, enjoy our sport, attend our sport, and view our sport. There's a credibility factor. As Bob Lanier, the player, Bob Lanier, who is president of the Players Association, said, I'm sick and tired of having the finger pointed at me and everybody in the NBA if there is a bad apple in the barrel. We insist that those bad apples be removed, and that's what we're doing.
None of us are running from it. We're all admitting it. We all are trying to help each other. We're discussing the issues among players and management, and we're working together. You have an issue such as drugs, and if you can't work together on that, I don't know if you'll ever work together. And we're attempting to do that, and I think we're very successful.
From a medical perspective, though, the initial response to a person with a drug problem is denial. It's denial by the individual. It's denial by his teammates, his peers, and he will even go so far as to associate with other people that he is more comfortable with. So I don't think you can wait till a player realizes he has a problem, because by that time, he does have a problem, and probably his family has suffered, certainly his team, his performance. There's a myriad of things that can go on other than his health, in addition to his health.
Can't you have a balanced situation, though, Doctor? Can't you have the educational factor,
Absolutely. You have
the
to
rehabilitation factor, and the enforcement factor all combined?
You have to do that.
That's what we were attempting.
Yeah, that's what all of sports are doing. But should we go out and test everyone for every disease?
The best treatment of any disease is prevention. And if a person comes in a professional league and you know he's going to be tested, he's going to say, hey, I can't do this. If it's a mandatory testing for everyone, everyone comes into the league, then it's non-discriminatory. You take away the chance of harassment because of personal bias. Then have two other prongs in your testing program, one for just cause, as Mr. O'Brien has alluded to, when you have really reason, and random.
Don't you think in organized sports, you have to admit in organized sports, we all take physicals, and there are all kinds of tests.
That's true.
Now, what is done with those tests, who knows? I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the teams are doing and what the physicians are doing, but I would just venture to say that there is testing right now in all sports.
I want to ask you something, gentlemen. How can you, any of you, tell the public that sports right now today is not rife with this problem?
Of course you can tell them that, because it is not rife with this problem.
Well, I've read statistics that it's 50% of all pro athletes.
I don't know where you got those statistics.
I don't know where those
No one knows.
That's the answer
exactly
to it.
So you can't say they are or not. I don't think you can say they're not.
What we're saying, what Gene and I are saying particularly here, Leslie, and I think it should be understood, we recognize sports is part of American society. We're a highly visible entity in American society. We have the responsibility every citizen has in this area. This is the most difficult, the major social problem in America today. We're trying to face that problem and do the best we can with it.
Well, I want to know what you all think your responsibility is to young high school kids coming up, as far as setting yourselves up as role models. and why you shouldn't go the extra mile to clean up the sport, do everything necessary.
I think we are doing and going the extra mile to clean up the sport if it needs cleaning up. We admit if there is a problem, we're dealing with it. If we are role models, we accept that. That goes with the territory. Also goes with the territory of police in our own areas, and we're doing that.
I am very sorry we have run out of time. Thank you for being with us. We'll be back in a moment with other opinions.